Well, hey there, it's Jennie Wolek with the Wolek Group, Keller Williams Realty in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Welcome back to this episode of Agent Success Secrets. And today you are in for a treat with my friend Terry Story out of Boca. I am so excited to talk with you, Terry, and learn from you. You have over 35 years in this real estate business. You've learned a lot, you've grown a lot, and you've really just uh, actually applied all of the lessons that you've learned, which has led to your success and allowed you to be, over $1 million a year producer, which is, where a lot of people are striving to achieve. So share with everyone who you are, where you are, what you do, and a little bit about your backstory so we can get to know you just a little bit better.
Well, like you said, Terry Story in Boca Raton, Florida, which is between West Palm and Miami, if you don't know, on the East Coast. And I've been doing this for 35 years. I started at 26. So I was a very new young agent, very eager to learn. And what started me off my first year in real estate, my manager said, I asked, well, what's the average commission, or how much money does the average realtor make? He said $32,000 a year. Well, back then I was making $18,000 a year as an accountant. I'm like, dang, that's double what I'm making. I'm better than average. I got this. So my first year I started, I hustled, I did everything I was told. I don't remember exactly what I made. I was rookie of the year. I know I did over 2 million in volume. Um, but I knew that by setting that bar, it was the first thing. It was like my first goal, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's how I started. I started out of getting married, moving to Boca Raton from Miami and not having a job and wanting to get into sales. I had already had my real estate license. I grew up in a real estate family. So I decided, newly married, got a second income, let me go for it and see where I land.
That's so cool that you trusted in yourself and that you did understand how this business worked. So many young people see the glamour of real estate on HGTV and all the influencers on the social media. And so you knew you actually had to work right out
Yes.
the gate.
Well, not only that, I was 26, and back then in the late 80s, I'm dealing with realtors with big hats, driving Cadillacs, puffy shirts, and they were intimidating. Here I am, this little young thing walking in, little whippersnapper. The average age was like 50 something, and I was less than half their age, and I was so intimidated. I
Yeah,
should
well, clearly you stuck with it. And so, rookie of the year, you're chugging along. You were with a different brokerage than you're with here today. And so, you just finally got to a point of what happened, Terry?
Yeah, so I decided, okay, so how am I going to make money? I took every lead that I could get. Back then, I mean, we're talking, you had MLS books, pagers, we didn't even have cell phones, completely different world. I sat open houses. I did literally everything. I walked and knocked on doors wearing pantyhose in 90-degree weather and high heels in a suit, because that's what I was told to do. So from the very get-go, I did everything that I was told to do to succeed. Then I signed up for a program. It's called Sweat Hogs, which is like a Mike Ferry program. And it was through the beginning of that program, I started taking off. And so it's always we know what to do. It's whether we choose to do it or not. And
That's right. Well,
that's
whether it's Sweat Hogs or Bold or whatever training program that we take, the same happened for me is because I realized that I finally had the conversations that I was, that were best to share, the systems, and then really the mindset with some accountability and coaching. And that was it for me, and same for you. So you took off, you're succeeding year after year, you're being a great mom and a wife, and you're just living this fancy realtor life. And then you got to a point where you decided what?
I
Had you changed
decided.
bridges?
Well, I decided after 29 years with another brokerage, uh, I had been asked for about 13 years to come to Keller Williams. And I was meeting with the OP. We'd have coffee once, twice a year. And I really liked him and had a lot of respect for him. So we would just chit chat. And I said, I would chit chat with you, provided you don't try to recruit me to come to your company. So we did. And one day he sent his brother on me, and his brother called up and invited me to one of the regional mastermind events. And it was there that somebody got up on the stage and mentioned that if you're not growing your business, you're dying. And at the time, I was 55 years old. I've been doing the same level of business for 14 years, and it was a good amount of business. And I'm like, I don't want to start rolling backwards. I'm 55. And if these people on this stage can do it, and they weren't fancy people.
Right.
Why am I not doing more production? I was blown away with the amount of business they were doing. Like, I'm 55. I'm just gonna pedal to the metal, give it another 10 years of hard run, and wherever I end up, I end up. And that was the beginning of my journey with Keller Williams.
And so I love that. Terry, I just remembered I met you at a Florida
It
mastermind.
was, and I think it was the second one. I don't, because believe me, I hunted you down. And this is a true story. Jennie got up on the stage, and I really think it was the second one. Um, and I was so impressed with you and your business and what you were doing. And you were talking about video, I think making videos. And we had a breakout lunch, and they said, find somebody that you want to talk to. And there goes Jennie plopping herself down in a seat, and I like ran and tackled to be right next to her, pick her brain.
I remember I was having some Caesar salad, enjoying my lunch. It was a great
Or
conversation.
like trying to be really cool, like, oh, do I ask her? Do I not? She's Jennie.
Oh my God. But Terry, what's so cool though, this goes hand in hand with your story, is that you knew even at 55 and you that were mature and already successful in life, you knew there was more in you. So you made the move over. It really seemed to change things for you. You told me a fun story about, having setting a goal, with that new leader. How did he challenge you that made you just think so differently?
Yeah, so I always, every year, you write down your goal, and I would say, okay, 500,000, 500,000 GCI, 500,000. And I never hit it. So I come over, he's like, well, how much do you want to earn? 500,000. And he said, you have 3,000 people in your database. You've got well over $1 million sitting right there. He says, you can make $1 million. And quite frankly, I'm like, yeah, sure. Sign me up. I'll make $1 million. But it was somebody else believing in me.
Yeah.
No one else, like, I don't want to say nobody believed in me. That's not really quite true. I guess I didn't believe in myself to make that much money, seeing that I never even made that 500,000. How am I going to hit 1 million?
Mhm.
But he encouraged me to. And he handed me the red book, said I could do it.
Here's how
And
you
I
do it.
dove into it. And I put it out there, $1 million. And I did it after 1 year. And I'm like, holy moly. I'm like, can I do it again? Can I do it again? And my team has done it every year since I've started.
I mean,
So
that is
once you
amazing.
do it, you can. It's repeatable.
Yes, yes, yes. And it's a testament to, first off, believing in yourself, having somebody believe in you, and then just having the book on how to do it. Now,
That's right.
something you are really great at, and it's from your background and your degrees of understanding numbers and math and how financials work, is being very purposeful about your profitability. Now, some of us realtors maybe didn't learn these skills early on. We didn't learn how to be a business person first. So help out all of our watchers and friends who maybe are struggling with, yeah, I know how to sell a house, but then all my money's gone because I have to pay the bills that I already acquired. How does this work? How do we help them?
There's so many great books, and it always starts with profit first. So the economic model is all built around profit. And I don't know how much you want me to get into, but no, you have to, if you're not making a profit, why work? Okay, that's really the bottom line. But understand that profit comes first, pay yourself first, and work those numbers backwards. So how many homes do I have to sell to achieve the amount of money that I need to feed my family, put a roof over my head, put clothes on your back? You'll have to know those numbers, because you can't achieve something unless you know what that goal is. And there's different kinds of goals. There's thriving goals, and there's just surviving goals, and really knowing those numbers. Um, And the very first thing that I would say that's important to do, and it depending if you're a relatively new agent, just being aware. Awareness is, the first part of it, but hire a bookkeeper. You can get a bookkeeper for about $100 a month. It's not that expensive. And they will put your numbers together so you can see where you're actually spending your money. So if you're spending money on a shiny object, which we're so good at doing, and it's not giving a return, maybe I shouldn't spend so much money on that, because I think awareness is we don't know where we're even spending money. At least that's what it was for me. I was spending and making, but I didn't really know on what and where.
Yeah, I think that's so important because, I've never paid for a lead, and I have found that I would rather, instead of those shiny objects or new tools or things that are out there, I'd rather just keep investing back in my database, in the events and the love that I'm able to give those people, because I know they're the ones with the highest return on investment.
No question, no question. And a lot of us, when we're new, we're afraid to tap into our database. Oh, they know me. So you have a tendency to go by, dialers and Zillow leads and all of this stuff. Unless you're really, really honed in on doing that at a very high level, that's not where you're going to make your most money. Your money is right in your database. It really is.
Well, let's talk about, okay, so you realized that your big thing would be events. And
Right.
that's how you get all of this repeat and referral business from your clients in your database. So what does that look like for you?
So we do different events every year, and all of it is from the playbooks and everything that I learned here at Keller Williams, because I never did events. I'd been encouraged to do events prior to coming here, but the fear of nobody's going to show up, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Just start out, do small events, invite people over to your house for dinner. And then you can do more things. Have a couple of educational events. You just do your own personality. You know, I do beer and bingo. I've done bingo for purses. Bingo's a big one. Wine tasting, cheese and wine tasting events. We're doing the blessing basket. That's so easy. The easiest ones to start with are the ones where you're asking for people to contribute, to give back, because you'll find out that a lot of people in your database are willing to contribute. Though I couldn't believe how easy it was to raise, I collected hygiene products after a hurricane. I had a garage full of stuff, and all I did was ask. I realized, wow, I can actually do this. So that was the very first thing that I had done. And then it's led to the other things.
Well, so over these years, you've gotten clear on who you are and what's most important. What advice would you give your younger self? Now, we know back in the day, we had different technology and tools to do the business. So putting that aside, because yeah, I had a pager too, but we were really cool, weren't we?
Yeah, it was cool. I had to go find the payphone.
But knowing what we know now, and we were teaching our younger self today, where would we really encourage them to start?
Yeah, I would start in the market center. I would absolutely take bold. I would take it multiple times. I would find a mentor in your office, depending on your personality. If you want to be see if you can get to become part of a team. If you don't get a team, follow a mentor. Find somebody not somebody way up here. I mean, it's good to look at somebody way up there, but look at something that's realistic and see what they're doing. That's like 2 steps ahead of you, and follow them, and then you'll catch up to them, and then you find another. So that's how I did it. I watched a couple of other successful agents in my office. I didn't go to the top ones, but I went to that were doing a good amount of business, because I had to get there first.
Yeah. So how are you planning or preparing, or how would you teach a younger person and a younger you how to plan for next year? We're at the end of a year. We should already be, the work we're doing now is already going to show up in that first quarter. And so many agents take off during the holidays. Do you just take off for the
No, I
holidays?
never take off the holidays. That's one of my best months. December, like everybody, you go away, just I'll take the business.
That's right.
December is usually a real strong month for us. So you plan early. In September, October, you're already working on your next year. And what are your goals? Do you need more leverage? Are you looking to bring on somebody? When are you going to start planning that? Are you going to take the career visioning that teaches you how to hire someone? How many transactions, take an average of if you're new, you don't have averages. So talk to your team leader. What is the average of your office? What's the average, find those average numbers. And if you were like me, when I first started, I always assumed I was better than average. So I aimed for higher than average. And that's how I figured the numbers to figure out what I needed to do to hit those numbers. So be numbers based and understand success is in the numbers. You have to know the numbers. Like how many calls is it going to take till I get a lead? What activities am I willing to do?
Yeah. Well, what we're noticing in our market, and maybe you are as well, is that the days on market is increasing for our listings. If we do get a buyer under contract or a seller, it's maybe a little shaky and it's hard to maybe keep all those deals together like we did before. So what are some of your tips of bulletproofing and hacking the process so that every listing you take, it does go under contract and it does get to the closing table?
So it's interesting that you bring that up because back in 2007 for us, that's when the market came crashing down and we had to shift. So it's that book Shift is an absolute must read. You have to be able to pivot when the market pivots. So at the time, the market, let's say the average sale was X and now it drops to Y and you're trying to sell here. Go where the median number is. Go to where the business is. For us, it was short sales. So then, all right, it's short sales. I'm going to be a short sale expert. So I took all the classes. If the market shifts and there's more money to be made in working with buyers, go heavy on the buyer side. If you have to know your own personality to know what's best for you. I mean, I'm going to tell you, it's a much easier road when you're working with sellers, but you have to, once you start dealing with sellers in your longer time relationships with them, you're going to have to build out a system. What is that 1 month conversation looks like? What does it look like after 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months? We were dealing conversations for a year.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually going back. I had my first expire in 5 years and I'm like so bummed. And I'm realizing I've got to put my communications back in. Is it that smart plan? Is it a call, a text, an email? What does that all look like? So we're actually working on that right now because I know that's where we're going.
I agree. And the thing is that all the agents that are in the market today weren't around back in 07, 8, 9, 10, even when it got here to Oklahoma, where we luckily had already invested in learning everything from the shift. So it wasn't as painful for us but we knew how to have those conversations about being, priced correctly from the start and your first window of opportunity. So let's talk about sellers for one more minute. And you're known for this conversation, and I think it's always important to share it because maybe somebody hasn't heard it before. Pricing is everything. Everything, everything, everything.
Pricing is marketing. That's what I tell them.
It is.
Pricing is marketing. And if it's not priced right, it's not going to sell. Period. I mean, it's really that simple. So I usually will start that pricing conversation with a flyer, a picture, and it's of a fisherman. And the fisherman has 3 hooks. He's got one hook right below the surface of the water line. Second hook is in the middle of the ocean, and the third hook is at the bottom. And all the fish are at the bottom. And I'll ask the seller, Mr. Seller, which hook is going to catch the fish? The bottom one. Why is that? Because that's where the fish are.
Ah,
And I say nothing. They know where I'm going with this already. And I'll say, fishing is like, pricing of your home is like fishing. If we're priced here at the top at the water line, do you think the fish are swimming all the way up there to? And then the middle, I'll tell them that this is the most dangerous part because Mr. Seller, you're going to feel like we're getting some activity because the fish are coming up from the bottom to check out your bait. However, they're going back down and they're buying and they're eating that sweet, better bait because it comes down to value. There's more features and benefits for the buyer as they perceive it to be with that bait down at the bottom. And there's more fish attracted to that particular one. And guess what? It may turn into a bidding war and that price may go up because that's where the activity is. And everybody wants to be where the party's at. So the middle place is your most dangerous place because you feel like you're getting activity, but you're not going to sell.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we had a showing.
Yay.
Oh, what's the feedback? What's the feedback as soon as they walk out the door, right? So, Terry, you've had this great conversation and they kind of go with your suggestion, maybe a bit higher. You give them a shot. Do you already pre-program that
So yeah,
here
I do. So my
next?
pre-program looks like this. If we have no showings in 2 weeks, basically the market's telling us we're up here, and that tells us we're 10 to 13% or more overpriced. Then if we're in the middle, getting some showings and still nothing, and I make up these numbers, so it doesn't matter what they are. I say 7 to 9% or 5 to 7, just depending on the market and the price range.
Yeah.
And it also is kind of dependent on what I anticipate the price adjustment needs to be. But in general, when you go to list the home and you know that you're about right on the pricing, and when you have that conversation, you can change it at that time. When you know that you're 200,000 overpriced, just do some quick math and you can tell them this is when we're 15 to 20% overpriced. So whatever that looks like for you. But when you tell them that, you're automatically setting them up to that price adjustment and what that's going to be.
Yeah. And then do you come back to, hey, remember we talked about fishing?
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely tell them. And what's cool is they'll say, "Yeah, I remember that analogy that you showed." And I'll ask them, "Where do you think we are, fisherman 1, 2, or 3?" And they'll say, "Yeah, we're probably 2, or number 1. Gosh, I know we haven't had a showing in a month."
Right? And
Let
here's
them,
the, here's the,
it's them self-discovering. That's really what this is.
what I'm most afraid of, and you have the experience and relationship building and connection with the client, so you're not going to have any issues with this. It's still going to stink when we miss the mark and we have to stay on the market or we become an expired listing. I'm worried about the less experienced agents who are afraid of these
So
conversations.
yes, it's scary. And it's scary for me as a seasoned agent because I'll put something on the market. I'm like, dang it. How could I have been so wrong?
Yeah.
And the way that I get over that, I truly mean this, is by doing this conversation with them. Because then it's about the market. And I'll say to them, well, this is what the market is saying. So I'm always blaming somebody else and it's not me. And when you talk in that third person, it's so much easier to have the conversation. And don't run from the sellers. A lot of us want to hide, like, oh God, I don't know what I'm going to say then. What am I going to tell them? Come up with things that you're going to send them on a regular base and just touch base with them. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Don't say I'll check in once a week and don't check in, because now they're going to start to resent you and they're going to start blaming you versus the market. So that's the real key. You're
All
going
of
to put
that.
this time and energy into this,
Yes.
and you're going to work and spend all this money and not get the prize. It's not a good feeling, I'll tell you right now. I'm still burned about one right now. But you know what? She wasn't ready to move. And it's okay to cut them loose. So know when to cut your losses. If they're not motivated, you
Yes.
know, you have to be true to yourself about that situation.
Oh my God, I could keep chatting with you forever and ever, but I can't. So, Terry, tell everybody how they can best find you, follow you, share any referrals with you.
Sure. Well, again, Terry Story in beautiful Boca Raton, which is between West Palm Beach, Florida, and Fort Lauderdale, South Palm Beach County. And I'm easily found you can call me 561-945-4348. And it's Terry at teamterrystory.com. Happy to answer questions for anyone at any time. And Jenny knows I truly am an open book. I don't have to hide much.
You are so amazing at sharing everything you've learned. And I love it that you're still on your growth journey. That just is a testament to
Don't stop growing or you're dying.
there you go. I love it. Well, thank you, Terry, and I'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you, Jenny.